Today's recipe is a favorite of everybody. Spaghetti and meatballs. Today we're making a baked version that is delicious. Jump on in and make it with me. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine and welcome to my table. I'm so glad you're here. This is one of my favorite dishes to make when I need to take somebody. It's perfect to make ahead of time, keep in your freezer, and then just bake on demand. So that's what I'm going to show you today, although we're probably going to eat some today too. So let's make the spaghetti and meatballs. I'll show you the ingredients that we use. Very simple. We're going to start with spaghetti. We're not going to quite use the whole pound though. I'll walk you through that. And we are simply going to use a jar sauce today, a store-bought jar sauce. You can use whatever kind you like. You can absolutely make your own homemade sauce if you have a great recipe. But this recipe works really well with your favorite jar too. I do have homemade meatballs, so we're going to use about 1.5 dozen of those. And then we're going to have some onions and some garlic and some seasoning in it. We'll use Italian seasoning. We'll use just a little bit of olive oil to get our onions cooked up a little bit. And then we have 3 cheeses that we'll put on top at the end. I've got some sharp cheddar, some mozzarella, and some parmesan. And that's all we need to make this delicious spaghetti and meatballs. One nice thing about this dish, when you're going to serve it to your family, you can do it all in one skillet. I'm using my iron skillet. It makes a really pretty presentation, and I love the way it bakes in the skillet, other than just cooking your noodles separately. But we're going to do everything else in this iron skillet. So I've got it heated up, and I've added some olive oil, and we're just going to go ahead and saute our onions in here. Going to let them cook for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll add our garlic and some other ingredients too. Now that the onions have cooked just 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and add garlic. You want about the equivalent of 3 cloves of garlic. And then I'm going to go ahead and add our meatballs to the skillet as well at this point. What you want is about 18 meatballs. I may have 19 in here, but that's just the size that's going to fit in this pan well. And then I'm going to also go ahead and add our jar of sauce. This is just a tomato and basil sauce, but you can use whatever version you like. I'm going to put just a splash of water in this to clean out the rest of the jar and get in. And I'm also going to go ahead and put some extra seasonings in. I know we have seasoned meatballs, and we also have some seasoned sauce, but we're going to add a little bit of extra Italian seasoning, maybe about a teaspoon. I've got my setting on about medium-low, medium to medium-low, somewhere in there, not too high. And we're just going to let this cook for about 20 minutes. And so while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and heat up my water. I have a pot of water here already. And so I've got my eye turned on, and we're going to let that water heat up. And then our pasta will be ready to cook and hopefully put them all together at about the right time. I am going to go ahead and salt my pasta water. This is probably a little more than a teaspoon, maybe 1.5. And I'm going to throw it in here just to make sure that our pasta also gets seasoned while it's cooking. Our water's ready. It's time to add our pasta. Now, I've got a box. It's a 16-ounce box. That's a whole pound. But we only need to use about 12 ounces for this dish. We need to use about 3/4 of this box. So I'm going to put half of it in there, just like that. And then I'm going to take the other and just kind of divide it in half again and put with it. And then the rest of it can go back in the box, and we'll use it another time. Y'all know my trick, don't you, about keeping your pasta from boiling over or anything else that you're cooking open on the stove like this. Let me give it a stir just to help it Make sure it's separated as it begins to cook. So I'm going to take my spoon and just lay it across the pot like that. Now, there's been some discussion in some of the comments about their spoon not working for this. So I just wanted to talk a second about that. You'll notice that this spoon, it's very light in color. There's no finish on it. It's an old spoon. It works. This is a newer spoon that I have that has a really nice finish on it. It's beautiful. It does not work. So if you have a newer spoon with a finish on it, that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for something unfinished, just like this. That's probably an older spoon, and that's going to be perfect for this. One other thing I'll say, I did, after the meatballs and sauce were cooking for just 2 or 3 minutes, I turned it all the way down to low. So it's just been over here kind of simmering since then. And I've stirred it once or twice just to keep those meatballs turning around and keeping them from sticking. And it's hanging out, and it's going to be ready at the same time as the pasta. You'll want to follow the directions on whatever box of pasta you use. You could use something besides spaghetti. You'll probably want to undercook it by 1 to 2 minutes, since this is also going to be baked in the oven. So keep that in mind when you time your pasta. Our pasta is going to be ready in just a couple of minutes. So at this point, I'm going to turn off the meatballs and sauce. And what I want to do now is to take a spoon with slots in it. See the slotted spoon? And I'm just going to scoop out the meatballs. Leave as much sauce in as you can. And I'm just using the same bowl that I had meatballs in before. They were fully cooked when they were frozen, so it's going to be fine that I'm using the same bowl again. Keep from dirtying up another dish. You know, these were my homemade meatballs, which I posted that video a while back. So if you want to try that recipe, I love keeping them on hand in my freezer and having for dishes like this. I have also used store-bought meatballs in this dish before, and it works well. They do fine. There are some varieties of frozen meatballs I purchased that I like pretty well. So if you have one that you like and keep on hand, that'll work great. Okay. So now we'll just set those aside. I think we're okay. It's not going to boil over today. We're close enough to time. I'm going to go ahead and start scooping this out. And I'm just going to do it this way because we're going to use some of the pasta water as well. So it's not going to matter that we still have some water in our pasta. We don't need to drain it with a colander for this dish. A little bit more in there. And now we're going to take about half a cup of our pasta water. And we're going to pour it in here as well. And then mix up our noodles and our sauce right here in this skillet. Come in with my spoon too. Some of the sauce from around the side and bring it over into the middle. You just want to be sure it's kind of spread out pretty evenly in our dish. You want sauce throughout. This kitchen is smelling yummy, y'all. All right, that looks pretty good. So now we're going to take our meatballs and we're just going to place them right back on top. Okay. I'm going to try to scoop out that extra sauce that was around our meatballs. Okay. And then let's just spread them out all the way around so that every serving is going to get some good hearty meatballs. And now it's time to add our 3 different cheeses. I have about 3/4 of a cup of the mozzarella. And then same thing with the sharp cheddar, about 3/4 of a cup. You can use anywhere from 1 to 2 cups on this dish total for these 2 cheeses. So what I have is about 1.5 cups, 3/4 of each. And then I have about 1/2 cup of the Parmesan, the shredded Parmesan. And so that gives us a total of 2 cups of cheese between the 3. But you could use 1 cup of mozzarella, 1 cup of cheddar, and then still come in with the half a cup of Parmesan if you wanted. All right, that looks pretty good. And you can change the cheeses up too. Always, if you have other cheeses you like, Colby Jack would work well with this. Lots of other choices. If you have them on hand, use them. This needs to bake in the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then it will be ready to eat. Okay, I've also done this before and put everything together, but then done it in a dish like this. I'll cook it all, but then put the noodles and sauce together, meatballs, and cheese on top. It fits great in my freezer, and it is so handy to have on hand. It doesn't use up one of my dishes that stays in the freezer for too long, so I can use it for us, or it's great to be able to take somebody too, since it's in these disposable pans. They don't even have to bring a dish back to you. So it's one of my favorites to take because everybody loves spaghetti and meatballs, even kids. So if you're taking it to a family that has kids, that's a great dish to do. Let's taste our spaghetti and meatballs. I'm going to get a meatball. They're kind of big, so I'm going to cut it in half. I love, hang on. I love this dish. And let me tell you, the homemade meatballs really make it. I have used other frozen meatballs that I purchased, and I think I already mentioned, I find some at Costco, the Italian meatballs. Those are pretty good, and I have used them before and not been disappointed. But if you have the time to make the homemade meatballs, it really makes this dish. And I just love the ease of being able to make it ahead, keep it in the freezer, and pop it in the oven on a busy day, or grab it and take to somebody who needs some food. I just love this dish. It's so versatile, and everybody loves spaghetti and meatballs. And I don't think this one's going to disappoint you. There is just enough sauce to coat the noodles well, but it's not too saucy. And then you've got just enough cheese to cover the meatballs, but they're peeking through. So many good things about this dish. I think you'll love it. I think your kids will love it. I think your neighbors will love it. Whoever you serve it to is going to love it. Make this one for your next spaghetti night. And remember to go out today and find somebody who needs a little bit of kindness and give them some of yours.